Hi there, welcome to Taste with Alex. So for this brand new episode, I will talk about one of my favorite Spanish wine regions, which is actually Priorat. So there you have the wine. We will taste together a wine from Merum Priorati, which is called Inici, and it comes from Priorat, and it's 2016. So I really enjoy Priorat wines, especially because they have quite a huge story, which is really fascinating and interesting. Also, to make sure you're not missing anything about what's going on with Wine by Alex, just make sure you're subscribing to my newsletter. You will receive my free ebook, which is my top habits on how to improve your wine tasting. So for starter, the region was quite actually very long to be recognized. It gained only its DOQ status from 2009, so it's quite recent here, especially for the high quality of wines that is produced in the area. Diving directly into the tasting. So if you can see like the appearance of this wine, so it's quite deep ruby color to me, like it's you really know it's gonna be quite intense, and I will get to why it's so intense and so high quality and concentrated. So yeah, definitely on the nose is kind of a pronounced intensity as I was expecting. Smells so good. I'm just such a fan of Priorat wines. So it smells of very ripe, almost cooked black fruits and red fruits. You've got plenty of strawberries, cherry. I would go with raspberry as well, something a bit acidic and a bit lighter. Definitely have some black plums, blueberries, blackberry as well. Then there's a bit of pepper, obviously, so kind of spiciness to it, like a bit of licorice as well. It just smells so good. And you do have a bit of minerality. So the soils in Priorat are quite specific. I will get into that later. So you do sense like a bit of, I don't know, like pencil leads or granite, something like that. Something rocky and almost stony, like crushed gravels. To get more into why Priorat is so special, you do have a warm continental climate on the area, so that means that you have low rainfall during the whole year. On top of that, you do have some rugged, stony and very steep slopes. They are between 5 and 60% gradients, so that's quite huge. So you do have narrow terraces, which are called costers in the area, and all work must be done by hand. So it's super labor intensive and super hard to produce. So the soils there are very poor and stony. That means that they have low nutrients, and they are called yicorella. These soils are quite specific, so that can give this kind of sense of minerality in the wine, but coupled with the low rainfall and the warm climate, it gives kind of low yields, which is why the wine is so concentrated. On top of that, you do have some old vines, very old vines in the area, which accentuate the fact that you have very low yields. Like, to give you an idea, the maximum amount of yield that is allowed within the appellation is 39 hectoliters per hectare, which is quite low for starter, but then the average yield is between 5 and 6 hectoliters per hectare. That's really tiny. So all of the previous things I've said before means that you have kind of tiny amounts of wine produced there, but also that the prices will tend to be of the premium side. Coming back to the wine, of course, because I'm not done with it yet. So you do have secondary aromas, so you have oak aging, obviously. You do have some notes of coffee beans, chocolate, smoke. I do have a bit of herbs as well, like in Priorat wines I do tend to have a bit of medicinal herbs or like sage, you know, almost dried herbs. And since it's 2016, I do have a bit of tertiary notes starting to develop, which is kind of nice because I do enjoy this type of aromas. I do have a bit of leather, game, a bit of caramel as well. It's obviously completely dry, like you have no residual sugar at all. You do have, I would say, medium plus acidity. It's kind of going up there. It's really nice because it gives you like the will to come back to the wine, and as well it just refreshes your palate a bit, like almost like a minty finish. I would go as well with a medium plus tannins, so they are up until there. Still a bit rough, but at the same time, like just velvety as you would expect it. But obviously it has a long time ahead, so you do have plenty of time left so that they can become velvety. You do have high alcohol, like it's kind of burning a bit of my tongue and warming in the throat, but still very balanced, well integrated and very pleasant on the palate. I think it's like, yeah, 15% alcohol by volume, so it's kind of high alcohol, but very smooth and well integrated. I would go with a full body, like it takes all the space in your mouth, in your palate. I would also go with a long finish, obviously like it lasts at least 15 seconds on the palate and even more. You do have very ripe red fruits, black fruits, especially black fruits. Almost cooked as well, but fresh and acidic at the same time, so very pleasant. You do find again those notes of sage, medicinal herbs. You do have black pepper, licorice, and all of these secondary aromas. You do have chocolate, coffee beans. It's very like... I still have some aromas going on there, and I do tend to go towards the tertiary aromas now. So you do have leather, game, almost like bacon, you know. I also do have this kind of minerality, like I said earlier, like crushed gravels and something like rocky, but fresh at the same time. So on this wine, I would say that it's kind of outstanding, not only because I do find it outstanding on the subjective point of view, but very objectively, it's kind of balanced, it's intense. It is complex as well, and it does have a very long finish. I would say you can serve it at room temperature. Obviously, you do want to have all these aromas enhanced as much as possible. And I would say that you can like keep it for at least 10 more years easily. So as usual, head over to my website to be able to download your tasting note flashcard and be able as well to discover my favorite food and wine pairings with this Priorat. Meanwhile, stay on your game, keep tasting amazing wines and practicing your wine tasting skills, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers!